All right, so this is a quick video to show you just some of the features inside of Webinar Fuel that make it different from any other automated webinar software on the market. So the first thing we're going to start off with is just showing you what it means to be in software. So a lot of these different automated webinar platforms, in fact all of them that you see, when you register for a webinar, it plays back in your web browser like this. That's a huge problem, especially right now when you consider the fact that you can't autoplay the video, you can't have sound on. It basically requires you to just press play and play play a video, right? You lose all of the oh my gosh, this is a webinar, this is an event, this is real, right? You lose all of that when you have to go through those steps. So what we did was we built Webinar Fuel to be the first and only automated webinar software that actually plays back inside of software, right? Just like Zoom or GoToWebinar. So this is a registration page right here we're going to go to. So this is a registration page for one of our webinars that we run through Webinar Fuel. Inside of Webinar Fuel, you build this little registration widget right here. I want you to take note of something. When I click this button, the first thing that it does is it asks me for my email address. All of the other automated webinar software, when you click the register button, the entire registration process pops up at one time. What that means is you don't get someone's email address until after, okay, they see all of the options for the time. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we'll just do this. So once I put my email address in right here, watch what's going to happen. So the first thing that happens is this pops up and says, hey, select a date and time for your webinar. Here's the interesting thing. If I get here and I say, oh my gosh, this date and time does not work for me, you as the person who's putting on this webinar has already got the email address. Okay, so you've already gotten the email address of this person. You've gotten a lead that you would never get with the other automated webinar software on the market. And that's because when you click the pop-up for them, everything shows up at one time. The ability to do multi-step registration is really key inside of Webinar Fuel. You build all of this, you can place this little register button on any website anywhere in the world, right? And you can register people for your webinar. You can choose whether or not you want to ask for their name, their phone number. You can even do, surveys, ask them questions and such before they complete their registration. But the most important thing is that you can ask for their email address first, because you will get people that give you their email address and never finish completing this registration process. The reason is because the dates and times don't work for them. So now you've got that email address, and I'll show you in just a little while inside of Webinar Fuel what you can actually do with those leads. But we have an entire automated process built in to help you go and remarket to those leads to get them on one of your webinars. So super important feature, something you can completely customize. All of this is customizable. You can customize the words, customize the schedule. It doesn't have to be this particular schedule. You can do any schedule that you want for your webinar. In fact, you can even join a session that's in progress immediately. So those are some of the things you can do. What we're going to do is register for this one. Okay, so now that my name is in, what we're going to do is confirm our registration. So watch what happens. We confirm our registration and boom, we're on the thank you page. Okay, another really important thing with Webinar Fuel. We let you build your own thank you page. You'll notice this little widget floating right here. This is our registration page widget. You can put this on any registration page. When you take the register widget that we just clicked to register, you can put it on any page. You take this thank you page widget, put it on any page, and this means that Webinar Fuel will work with any landing page builder software on the market. We're using it with ClickFunnels here, but you can use it with any software on the market. What's great is you control your thank you page. All the other software, because they don't have this registration page widget, they control the thank you page. So you don't get to do things like put videos like this on or build out an entire sales process that happens on your thank you page. One of the cool things that Webinar Fuel does is we have what we call automations, and you can make it send people to this thank you page if there's only like this a few seconds before the webinar starts. But let's just say that you're registering somebody for a webinar that's not until 3 or 4 days from now. You can actually have that person see a different thank you page, and on that thank you page you might be selling them your book or a copy of one of your products or having them book a call. In other words, you can monetize your thank you page if there's enough time before the webinar that it wouldn't take away from somebody actually attending the webinar. So super important feature we have that allows you to monetize your thank you page. Nobody else has this feature because they control your thank you page. In this case, you do. Okay, so now that we can see it's time for the webinar, all we do is we click join the webinar. Now, you'll see that this pops up and says that we want to open an application. This works just like Zoom, just like GoToWebinar. So what we're going to do is open the Webbing. All right, and you can see on my computer, the webinar software is currently opening, okay? And here we go. So it's loading, we've loaded the webinar, and you can see that this webinar is running right now. Now, you're gonna hear me talking over this because I can't mute this. It's a live webinar. You'll see that it's showing that people are joining. It's showing how long we've been rolling. You can see the chat log that is already here. You can see the hosts that are here and all of the attendees. So you can see we are in software. We are not in a web browser, okay? So we can close this. This is what makes Webinar Fuel totally different from any other platform, is that we let you put people into software, just like Zoom, just like GoToWebinar, and it also happens and works on iPhones and Androids. So what that means is when somebody tries to join your webinar from a mobile phone, we can allow them to download our app, and when they do that, you again have better control of the playback experience. You'll notice that when that webinar loaded, the video automatically played, okay? The sound automatically played. Everything was automatic. If you load a webinar from any of these other types of automated webinar platforms, it literally shows a video on a web page and you have to hit play in order for it to work. That does not feel like a live experience. What you just felt there and what you just experienced there felt like a live experience. I couldn't mute it, I couldn't pause it, I didn't have to press play. I wasn't in my web browser, I was in a piece of software that I downloaded. It's very simple to get people on the webinar, but it is such an important process to keep their attention while they're there. And that's what happens when you do this in software. Now, what are some of the other features that Webinar Fuel has that no one else has? Well, first of all, we'll just kind of blaze through this. I'm going to go really quickly. You'll notice that there's a file here called videos. And do you see that we have all these different versions of the video? What's great about Webinar Fuel is not all versions of your automated webinar work for all different types of traffic. So what we can do is, with Webinar Fuel, you can literally go in and you can film a version of your webinar that works really well for YouTube visitors. For us, we find that a longer video or a longer webinar works fine with YouTube, but a shorter webinar works better for Facebook. So you can basically put both of these in here. And then what will happen is when you register somebody, I want you to check this out. When you build this registration widget, okay, I showed you this earlier. Let's just pull this up. The whole registration process. You'll notice that right here you can add a source. So if we click this and we add and we type in, YouTube, okay, like this, basically what will happen is we can build one registration widget, just one, and we can place it on our page that we're going to promote on YouTube. Okay, when somebody registers, it's going to know that they came from YouTube. Then it will play the video that you've selected to play for people who've registered for YouTube. Then you can do the same thing with Facebook, with Google. So if you have different traffic sources that you wish to have a different video playing back for, you can do that all inside of just one webinar, which is what's really, really cool, right? So this is where you would build your registration widget here. Super simple. You have control over everything and all the steps. So your steps don't have to be, just your email address and then you can make it 3, 4, 5, 6 steps registration if you want to. In fact, one of the things that's coming very soon is when you click to register, you will be able to get somebody to put in their email address, okay, then continue their registration. But then right here, what you'll be able to do is, instead of maybe showing this, you'll be able to ask a question. Are you a coach or consultant? Are you an affiliate marketer, or are you an e-commerce store owner, right? And then once they answer that question, they can go on to this part right here and finish their registration. But based on the answer to that question, you can play different videos, a different video file for your webinar. So if I'm a coach or consultant and I join your webinar, I'm going to see a webinar version that's catered towards coaches and consultants. If I am an e-commerce store owner, I'm going to see one that's catered towards e-commerce store owners. Again, giving you the ability to maximize the amount of time and energy that you put into each one of these things to get maximum conversions, because that's what it's really all about. Now, you'll also notice that we have two versions of this embed button here, right? We have this green one, we have this red one. And you're like, well, wait a minute, why do you have multiple versions? Real simple. All you've got to do is take this little code here, and this is the code that puts your widget on pages. You can literally put this code on any page in the world. This widget will show up. Well, one of the interesting things is that the widget itself, okay, and you'll notice that this one is blue this time. Last time it was red. We allow you to split test your widgets, okay, your registration widgets. What that means is every time you refresh your page, and of course we get cached after a while, but if you keep refreshing this, you'll go from red to blue, because we have two different registration widgets for this particular page, okay? You build those registration widgets right here, and then you get stats on those registration widgets. So check this out. Version 1 has had 28 impressions, 19 unique people visit, 4 people have registered, and it's converted at 21%. But version 2, okay, you'll notice right here, has had 16 visits and 6 registrations and 38%. That would mean that this particular button right here is generating more registrations for the webinar than this button. Okay, so what would I do if that was the case? I can just turn off. You just click this button, boom, you turn off version 1, it quits showing up on your landing page. All of a sudden, this is the only one that shows up. And you can just click this plus button and add additional versions of your widget, right? And it's not just about the color, it's about the flow. It's about how many steps it is, right? So it's about what questions, what copy you write on it. You can test all of this and maximize your conversion rate. Okay, so that's another thing that we do that no one else does. Again, helping you make more money with your automated webinars by getting more people registered. Another thing, you'll notice right here that this says leads. Well, what's the difference in a registration and a lead? Well, a lead is a person that clicks this button. Now I want you to notice this is a one step right here. Okay, this asks for name, email, and select the date and time, all in one step. Okay, this one asks for your email address first. The reason that we do a two-step registration is because if we get this email address, okay, and then you don't fill this information out, we've at least gotten a lead. You'll notice 2 leads. 2 leads means we've got 2 people that gave us their email address, but when they got to this point, they didn't complete their registration, okay? That's important because that means there are people that when they click the date and time, they can't join the session. They don't have a time that works for them. And so if you were to just show them this right here, they wouldn't give you their email address or anything because they don't see a date and time that works for them. But if you do a 2-step, you can grab leads so that you can follow up with people. Very, very important. Being able to follow up with those people and not just ignore them, right, and lose that information. So how do you follow up with them? Well, we've got an entire notification system built in to Webinar Fuel. You'll notice that there is a notification system right here for leads. Super simple. You can go right in here and look at this. It says 5 minutes after somebody abandons registration, send them this email. So you can send them this email and it'll register them with one click, meaning we can say, hey, we're sorry that you didn't complete your registration. Click right here and we'll let you register with one click for a webinar that fits you, right? A webinar that fits your time frame. What this does is let you monetize those leads, right? Those people that Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to follow up with if you were using these other automated webinar platforms that did not do a two-step registration process. Then you can add additional emails and SMS. As you move along, you can go through here, like for the people that registered for your webinar, this is where you send them an email. We have a full-blown email editor. You can put in the date, the time, the location, all of this stuff of your webinar very, very easily here. But what's really unique is you can also add push notifications, right? So you can add push notifications because remember, we have an app for the cell phone. So people are going to download our app, which means we can send push notifications to those people to remind them to get on your webinar. So if somebody registers, we can send them a thank you for registering push notification. We can also send them an SMS, right? We can send both. Then you send reminders of the webinar. You can change the intervals and when they're going to be sent and all of that stuff. Again, you can send push notifications, SMS. You send the starting now, the attended non-buyers. What's interesting here is we know how far along the video that people went. And so what that means is based on how far they went, they'll see a different version of your replay file. Okay, so if they've already seen your CTA, then you can say, hey, show them controls and all of that stuff so that you can maximize, again, your conversions. So this is the follow-up sequencing. Remember, you can do emails, SMS, push notifications, and you can do it all from right here inside of Webinar Fuel. No complicated stuff having to move data all over the place, all right? We do offer integrations, okay? So you can integrate with ClickFunnels, with Entreport, with all of the different services that you could possibly want, which means you can push your registrations and your data into Entreport, into ActiveCampaign, into Infusionsoft, into ClickFunnels, and so on and so forth. So you can still push all of your subscribers and information into your different autoresponders, but you can send your notifications and your follow-ups from right here inside of Webinar Fuel. Of course, we have the webinar room itself and all the different things that you can edit and change on this. You can have the live icon or not have it. You can show how many attendees are there or you cannot. You can move the position of that all around. And then, of course, you can have the chat enabled or disabled, the Q&A enabled or disabled. Same thing with replay. And with replay, you can show the controls to people, the replay controls, or you can say, nope, only show it after they've at least visited the webinar twice. So after they've at least attended our webinar twice, then just go in and show them controls. Also showing the offer. You can tell it to show them the CTA offer, have the button popped for your purchase, only if they've already seen the offer. So if somebody comes back to watch your replay that's already seen the offer when they attended the live stream of the webinar, then they don't have to wait, for an hour and a half to see that button again. The button will just be there, ready for them, so that they can click and buy should they choose to. This is where you set your CTAs. So you can set polls, messages that show up, or create offers. When you create an offer like this one, this is where you kind of fill this information out. You can put a timer on this, and this is kind of what it looks like. It pops up in the webinar app, and it basically starts a countdown for urgency. You can have that or turn that off. You can put an image on here if you want, and then it has an enrollment button. So you can create as many of these CTAs as you want for your room. Another thing that Webinar Fuel does that pretty much nobody else does is we give you your database of registrants. This is a database right here of registrants. It tells you what their attendance percentage is, how much revenue you've generated from each one of these people, what country they're from, the city, the state, and then you can go through and literally filter this out. Look at this. You can find anything. You can go through here and say, show me everybody that saw the CTA for a certain webinar. Show me everybody that's purchased anything from me for a certain webinar or for all webinars. So in other words, you can start drilling down into your data so that you can create automations, okay? And automations, I think, is where we take automated webinar to the next level. So we're collecting all this information. We're giving you this data. You can go in and do anything that you want with it. Send it to your sales team, send them different webinars, different invites, those types of things. But you can also do automations. So automations is something you'll see right down here. With automations, you can literally do things like this. Set rules. 60 minutes after somebody joins the webinar. okay? So 60 minutes after somebody joins my webinar, okay? If they're in the data segment, meaning my registrant segment, did not see the CTA or saw the CTA and did not buy. So if they're in the segment of data where they saw my CTA, but they did not buy, then I can say, send them an SMS message, right? So what can I do? I can send an SMS message. I can write it. I can say, thanks for attending our webinar. If you have additional questions, feel free to call our office now at this number. So what is that doing? That's going to get my sales team inbound phone calls, not from just people that joined my webinar, but from people that joined my webinar, saw my call to action so they know the price point of my offer, but they didn't buy. And this is automated. This is literally an automation. So after they join the webinar, we wait a certain amount of time. If they did not buy, boom, trigger a message to them on their cell phone to see if they will call in and speak to somebody on your sales team, getting your sales team the best leads possible and helping you close more deals, right? And there's so many different things. You can time this after registration, after they join the webinar, attend, join the replay, or attend the replay, and then actions. You can tag them, email them, send them an SMS, and like I said, set different thank you page URLs. So this is where you can say if somebody registers and there's at least 30 minutes before the webinar starts, send them to a certain thank you page that maybe sells your book, and you know that in 30 minutes they could purchase your book or one of your low ticket products but still have time to get on the webinar. But you could say if it's under 30 minutes before their webinar starts, then send them to a different thank you page that just pushes them to get on the webinar. This lets you monetize your thank you page and make money, right? But not hurt attendance to your webinar. And then the same thing with the video. You can show different versions of your webinar based on when they've registered, how they registered, what their tags are, all of these types of things that like you literally can just do anything with automations, right? Automations are key. Of course, we have all of the stats for your funnel flow right here. And then, of course, we have basic settings, right? You do have options. For instance, the mobile app preferences, you'll notice that you can either force people to have to download the software, you can never use the software, or you can use both, meaning you can play back in their mobile browser, or you can play back in the application and software, or you can let the person choose how they want to attend the webinar. We do have that feature coming for desktop as well, so we are building out a desktop playback version in your webinar browser. The only reason that we're doing that is so that you can split test and you can see that clearly having somebody join in the software simply just converts at a higher rate, more sales. You can do third-party tracking on your pages. You can do sales tracking so that you see exactly how much money you've made from all of these things. There's pretty much nothing that you can't do here inside of Webinar Fuel, all the way down to literally being able to do your schedule, where you can have somebody join a session in progress and you can set the time that you want the video to start. That way it feels like that video was actually in progress, right? It wasn't at the very beginning. So you have plenty of control over your schedule and the settings of your schedule. You can have block short-term registration so people can't register just today for today's webinars. You can have a night schedule. You can add blackout dates. There's pretty much anything you want you'll be able to do with your scheduling for your webinars. There are so many other things that I didn't get into in this. There's messages. You can direct message people. We can actually have you get your messages on Slack so that you can have somebody on your team responding to anybody that's in your webinars through Slack. So many other things that are capable and possible. If you run an agency and you're building webinars for other people, we have that built out where you can add other people like this, add workspaces. So each one of those people could have their own ability to log in and just see their stats in their webinar instead of everyone else's. And then of course, we put all of our new updates down here. We have support, we have a full help center with videos, and then we have Webinar Wednesdays. So Webinar Wednesdays is where I go live every Wednesday. We help people build out automated webinars in here, but then we also are able to go in and answer questions for you about webinars, right? So Webinar Wednesdays is every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and you're invited when you join Webinar Fuel. You'll be able to access Webinar Wednesdays and all the replays of it by going right here. And the last thing that I'll show you that we did that I thought was really, really interesting and really different is this button right here. This is called the shared funnel or shared webinar link. Once you build out an entire webinar, I'm talking you've got all the settings, all the notifications, the schedule, the videos, everything, the CTAs. Once it's all done, you can literally share that webinar with another Webinar Fuel user, give them this link, and it will instantly populate that entire webinar into their account. So you now can do shared webinars. You can build it in your account, share it with somebody else. You can, if you're a product owner and you want people to be able to promote your product, you can literally, but they want to collect leads and stuff like that, you can literally build your webinar, share it with your affiliates. They can have their own version of it that they can run traffic to that's still selling your product for you. So having shared webinars, really, really awesome experience. And of course, you can create unlimited webinars over here for your company. So that is a quick overview of the features. Obviously, you need to get inside of Webinar Fuel in order to really understand all of the benefits and everything that it does. But I'm telling you, it's the most dynamic program and software for automated webinars on the market, and we look forward to having you be a part of our community.